To Representative Benjamin.
Representative Benjamin, you're recognized in debate.
Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. We are not completely equal in this country. 58. That's the amount of years that black people have been full citizens of the United States. A state now, a country that is now a few centuries old. And for a people who have been here from its inception, we have been free and equal under the law for 58 years. MLK, that's Dr. Martin Luther King, was asked by a reporter of NBC whether he believed 10 years later, after he had a dream, whether white people had given up on the struggle for equality. And he said that they had mostly vacillated, that a white ambivalence has existed since the founding of America, and that most white Americans are only comfortable with seeing equality go but so far. He said it is easier to integrate a lunch counter than to guarantee an annual income to get rid of poverty for the Negro and all poor people. He said it's easier to integrate a bus than it is to make genuine integration a reality and make quality education a reality in our schools. He said it's easier to integrate a public park than to get rid of the slums and the ghettos in America. He said we have moved from a struggle for decency to a struggle for genuine equality. He was then asked, what is it about the Negro as compared to any other immigrant group that somehow they get around these issues of prejudice that the Negro finds it difficult to do in America? He said part of it is because the thingifying of a person. He said without devaluing them, when you use something for a means to an end, at the moment you make it a thing. The fact is that the Negro was a slave in this country for 240 years, and that was a willful thing that was done, and that led to the thingification of the Negro, so he was not looked upon as a person. He was not looked upon as a human being with the same status and worth as other human beings. He said, so slavery was justified racially, morally, theoretically, biologically, scientifically, and every other thing else that you can think of. He said, the Negro sits special in America because only the Negro in America had been enslaved on American soil. No other group had to contend with his color being the stigma. No other group in America had to contend with the thingification of America. He was then asked, well, what about your dream 10 years ago? How do you feel about that dream now? And we often point to the fact that it was Dr. Martin Luther King who said that we should be judged by the content of our character and not the color of our skin. You know what he said 10 years later when he was asked about his dream? He said he must confess that his dream had become a nightmare. Just 10 years later, that dream about being on the mountaintop had become a nightmare. He said that he must confess that while the movement was about hope, that they were naive in what America was willing to do to bring about genuine equality. He said, so now hope had to be tempered with realism, and that we still had a long, long way to go. And we now stand 58 years later, and I tell you, we still have a long way to go. And this bill doesn't get us anywhere closer to that. This bill will cause division. This bill will cause folks to feel not seen. I don't think you guys understand what it means to not be seen.
Representative, your time has expired. If you want a few moments to bring it in for a landing, you may do so.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Floridians, colleagues, Americans, we have still a long way to go to let freedom ring. So let it resound loud as the rolling sea.